Welcome r/EntitledParents. If you're not straight, say goodbye to family support. Ever since I was little I had already decided I wouldn't have kids, even if the reason changed from time to time. When I was younger it was because I had a little brother and I really hated him, so I didn't want to risk having a child just like him to take care of. As I got older it started to be about money and comfort. Having a baby means you have to carry it for 9 months and then go through excruciating pain to get it out, and then said baby proceeds to suck money, time, and patience from you for at least 18 years, probably more. No matter what argument I used, all my relatives kept saying that I was too young to decide that I would change my mind in the future, etc. In my teenage years I realized I was lesbian, and recently me and my girlfriend started to consider adopting a kid in the future for the sole purpose of raising them better than our parents raised us, but we haven't decided anything yet. I realized I was lesbian by 14 and started dating a girl at high school when I was 16. Not the one I'm currently dating. We broke up after a while, but we are still friends till this day. The problem was, my mom and her part of the family were really religious, Jehovah's Witnesses. My dad is atheist and his part of the family, while still religious, there is accepting of gay people, but my mom's family is way bigger and more present in my life. As I got older relatives started bugging me about if I was dating someone. It was really awkward because technically yes, I was. But I couldn't say that, so I always answered no. When I turned 18 my aunt, she was always annoying, even when I was a kid, started setting up dates for me with all the guys around my age at church. I obviously didn't want it to go, but my mom forced me to, saying she's just trying to help you, you should go, even if it's just to make her happy. So I ended up suffering through 3 different extremely awkward dinners with 3 guys I didn't know, and they looked just as awkward as me. I guess she ran out of young adults to throw me at, so she left me alone besides the usual "so are you dating someone?" and the really annoying suggestive looks every time I say no. 3 months ago, I'm 23 now, I got caught with my current girlfriend. I broke up with the first one in the first year of college. We were at a party, and she had too many drinks, so I drove her home and gave her a goodbye kiss. When I dropped her off, it was still late afternoon, so it wasn't dark yet. So apparently a random old lady that was close friends with my grandmother saw us kissing and told my grandmother, because apparently old religious people have nothing better to do. I had stopped believing in God when I was 12, story for another post, and told my mom when I was 14. She was really upset and mad at me after that, but luckily she didn't tell any of my relatives, probably because she didn't want to deal with the drama that would follow. So the follow-up to the reveal was a wave of relatives worried about me. Jehovah's Witnesses have this thing on how people can change. They basically think being gay is a choice and trying to bring me back to God and stuff. And then came in the aunt I mentioned earlier. She started with the same arguments as everyone else, but then she came in with, "But if you only date girls, you'll never have kids." Already tired of all this drama, I argued back that I didn't even wanted kids, and if I decided to have one in the future I could always adopt or resort to artificial insemination. She kept bugging me for days with the same arguments about how I was young and naive and would eventually change my mind, and how children are a gift from God for every woman on earth, that my life would never be complete without one, how a homosexual marriage would never bring me true happiness, and how I would die sad and alone because I didn't have any kids to take care of me when I turned old. After a few days of this, she gave me an ultimatum, not the movie. If I didn't give up on my homosexual relationship she would tell the church about it. Jehovah's Witnesses have this thing: if you willingly commit a sin and don't show any remorse, you're basically kicked out of the church. That wouldn't be so bad, but after being disassociated, every member of the church is instructed to avoid you. Basically not talk to you, and not give any support, until you took shame on your actions and apologized. Which would mean half of my family was going to pretend I didn't existed. I was in the middle of college, so I still lived with my parents. Luckily disassociation doesn't include kicking your child out, but I didn't want it to be trapped in an environment where two people, my mom and my brother, would pretend I didn't existed. So I decided to move out. I live in Brazil. Here public colleges are actually good, at least for your resume. Can't say the same about the structure, so paying for it wasn't a problem. When I explained my plan to my girlfriend, she quickly pulled some strings and managed to recommend me a small apartment near my college that I could rent without selling an organ, but that still meant I was gonna have to find a job, and considering we are in the middle of the coronavirus outbreak, that could take forever. And then, to my surprise, my dad came in when I was talking with my girlfriend through video chat. We talked for a long time, and long history short, he wasn't exactly happy about my relationship, but it was less because it was with a girl and more because I never told him and said that as long as it was making me happy, he would support me. I showed him the apartment I was planning on getting, and he said he would pay the rent for me for the rest of my college years. He then repeated what he used to tell me when I was a teenager: as long as it's something for your education and future, I'll pay for it. I don't think I need to describe how happy and relieved that made me. We now talk with each other daily, and I started contacting his side of the family through video chat about my situation. They also support me, and one of my cousins said she would help me with furniture and stuff. I'm currently trapped in my house due to quarantine, while I ignore several calls from people from church, but once this is all over, I'll finally be able to cut some people out of my life and never look back. As someone who was raised in a Jehovah's Witness household, your family's reaction is spot on. They can and will hold you hostage by simply ignoring you until you do what they want. And since they discourage friendships outside their cult, I mean congregation, disfellowshipping you, i.e. shunning you, can effectively cut you off from the only community you've ever known. Bunch of psychos they are. Kind of surprised your dad was allowed to marry your mom. The congregation told my mom that my dad had to convert or they wouldn't allow the marriage. Granted, that was roughly 35 years ago. My dad used to be a Jehovah's Witness during the time he and my mom dated and married. He slowly lost faith, aka regained common sense, and became an atheist. Remember, heaven's only got room for 144,000 people. There are 8.4 million JWs. At best, less than 2% of them are going to heaven. If heaven fills up this year, then an average of 72 people were allowed into heaven every year. Not just JWs either. These are all the good and honest people of earth since the time of Christ. If we say maybe 15% of people are good, that means every good person on earth has a 0.0000006% chance of going to heaven. Yikes. While I don't defend witness, I think I should correct misinformation. It's harder to make honest criticism when you don't know all the details, because people will launch themselves at any mistake you make to discredit you. Witnesses believe that after the apocalypse the earth will be turned into a paradise, where people will live forever, the happy pamphlet with the animals, and where it will be impossible to feel any sadness, which is kinda creepy in my opinion. Heaven is more of a VIP status for people who really followed Jehovah and stuff, and only 144,000 get to go to heaven. I'm also not sure where that came from. So basically the majority lives in happy paradise, while a selected bunch goes to heaven. Yeah, kinda weird. We have an assortment of witnesses that stop by our house. Some way nicer than others. I act accordingly according to the ones visiting. Believe it or not, the older women I'm more likely to be mean to. There's an older man that stops by who is actually pretty chill, and I'll hear him out whenever I can. The older women who visit are quite rude and overly persistent. So if I see them at the window, I'll wear my anti-witness shirt I keep nearby. It's typically an LGBT shirt or a shirt with Baphomet on it. The older man I'm typically not real mean to. When he first stopped by, I said I wasn't religious. Instead of bashing me or anything, he actually asked me if I knew anyone that would like to hear his word, or if I would like to hear his word anyways. He stopped by a couple more times, and once not as a witness, just to ask about the watermelons I was growing. That's the part one find a bit sad about JWs, is that, because it's unsolicited, people generally have a negative view of visits. I'm an atheist, but if I've got nothing better to do, I'm happy to have a conversation. Respect to your church, if that's what they're called, for minimizing contact during COVID. I have a question. How do you feel about your donations going to pay the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society's huge lawsuit payouts for covering up child abuse in the congregation? Apparently it's gotten so bad that they're selling off lots of kingdom halls and cutting costs by firing people at Bethel. We have some that live nearby. My brother ignores anyone at the door. My mum listens to them. My dad didn't have time for religion, so told them to go away and never come back, in a not so polite way. Next time, they apologized, asked if they could talk to someone else. He got me. I was drunk, and as soon as I got to the door, they immediately asked if I believe in Jesus. I replied with yes, we have cheddar, edam, and brie in the fridge. They got really pissed off and walked away. Next time they knocked, they saw me and walked away without saying anything and never came back. We had some JW neighbors who came by. I thought they were just dropping by to be friendly to a lonely mom with a new baby and a disabled tween, but they stopped dropping by after they met my husband, who is Eastern Orthodox and has no patience for door-to-door salespeople of any type. And knowing people, or being related to people who have kids, are like those friend of a friend people, alright and kinda fun to hang out with for a little while, but you wouldn't want to spend a day alone with them. How high school are these maths you're talking about? Do you mean more regular stats class, or honors pre-calc? Because I took both in different years, and I have no recollection of what I learned in the latter. I'm sorry you have to deal with your mother's family. Also, I'm glad your dad is so wonderful to you. He reminds me of my parents a bit. When I had to get a new car cause reckless driver hit me and totaled the car they bought me, they helped me find a great used car within 6 hours of the car accident, and we picked up the next day. For context, I paid/pay for the car. They just helped with the down payment and I pay for the cost of my car insurance on their policy. And the accident was in the first big snowstorm a November ago, a couple months after I had your surgery. I'm okay, but my car was totaled and the girl who hit me barely had a dent. Yes. Last witness pair I ran into ended up chatting me up. Seemed like totally normal young ladies who liked my dog. Well, obviously, it started moving into some religious shit as they began trying to coax me into admitting that I believed in God. Oh boy, the way that lady's eyes popped when I told her I do believe in the Christian God. I just believe he is a foul entity based on fear. Jesus was cool though, and his teachings are top notch. Other lady hustled them away as soon as possible. I told her all this in as pleasant a way as possible, and then wished them a hearty blessed be and goddess bless. They left a little complex alone after. They quickly learned I live in a very mixed neighborhood where we have Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, and Hindus all living in the same area. Not the best place for their cult to show up. I totally understand you. I know it's not nice to say to random people on the internet that I'm a child, but I'm a child and I kinda also don't want to have children in the future. At least for now. And Jay, know how hard it is for you when relatives or someone talks about how you'll get married to a smart and strong man in the future, or whatever. They just decide what you'll do and say you're just a child and can't decide. But I'm sure your relatives love you and maybe will understand you someday. Maybe they say those things because they care about you, your future. If they didn't, they wouldn't bother to think about it. Now, would they? I wish you only happiness. #STAYATHOMEORWEWILLDIEPLEASE. I'm so sorry your mother is a JW. My best friends were JWS when I was young, and I used to attend Bible study with them and an elder. I was naive. The people were so friendly and kind at the church, and I was thinking of joining them officially. Luckily my parents had a rule that I couldn't do anything like that until I'm 18. Anyways, things started coming to me that didn't make sense and absolutely did not match my moral compass. It started at a sermon when the elders were discussing how we have to be careful where money is donated because it could go to a blood bank or veteran support. Of course, the darker side of the religion was present. My friend was caught with a boy in the house, shirtless. Her dad brought her to the elders immediately and she was temporarily excommunicated as punishment. I thought it was insane that her family, Hispanic super duper close with each other, would just turn on a dime and ignore her like that. I recently found an old Watchtower journal we used to read for Bible study. It's written for teens, and the section regarding homosexuality wanted to make me vomit. Basically saying that it's clear in the Bible that it is a sin, and that you're only feeling this way because you're a teen and have hormones. I still have mixed feelings on JWs, and the people themselves are usually so kind and sweet and caring, but there's just some things I cannot stand behind. If any religion tells you that you need to essentially turn your back on family, that's not what religion is about. I grew up in a Christian household, and while I do believe being LGBTQ is a choice, I also know that turning your back on them isn't showing them loving kindness. Your family can still love you while not agreeing with you, and they're choosing to ignore you completely. That's the part that bugs me. I have many LG friends who know my beliefs, and we still respect each other. As for the kids, it's definitely always different for people. I never wanted kids and now I can't wait to have a little family. I plan to adopt as well. My best friend and roommate, she doesn't want any, and she knew as a kid she never did. There's nothing wrong either way. So glad to hear your father ended up having your back through it all. I have had some cool JW who I known, and I had known others aren't so nice. I went out a awesome dude, so I think from work I started. This was in 2005, and we went out to a nice date. Almost at the end, it was around Halloween time, and he tried to tell me that he don't celebrated holidays because he's JW. I was so disappointed, because I was not about to change my ways not to celebrated holidays, plus I had 2 small kids then. I like and enjoy holidays with family and friends. I like the guy, but not the religious, I'm not even religious person myself, type. After that, at work was very awkward, and he was so rude to me. WTF. Please, do what best for you, what makes you happy, not what others think and feel about you. Be safe. XJW of 25 years here. If he was really a good, practicing witness in good standing, he wouldn't have gone out on a date with you in the first place. It is strictly forbidden to date or marry outside the faith. Sounds like he was half in / half out, and is also a wuss who can't handle rejection. I've heard tale of the fuckery that is Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm glad you'll be free of them. I recently had a baby. I had an easy pregnancy, relatively easy labor, and my son is a good baby. It is hard. Easy babies are still a lot of work. This is not for everyone. I like your plan of fostering or adopting, if you decide it's what you want. Most places require lots of education before you can do either, so you have plenty of time to really think about it. There's no objectively right answer when it comes to kids. Only what's right for you.